Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr Mayor. And
Good afternoon.
My submission relates to 5 topics: water rates, uniform annual general charge, land information memorandums, council-controlled organisations and funding. The revenue and financing policy refers to rates charged by the council as equitable. Equitable means equal treatment to everyone. Christchurch is the only council in New Zealand, according to my investigation, who charge water rates on a solely capital value basis. The council sees this as reflecting a perceived ability to pay based on the difference in a property's capital value. If the meters are being read, the water meters, frequently, then all ratepayers should be charged water by meter. I've given some examples, and I've collated those over the last 2 or 3 years, of some examples I've just picked out of Sydenham, Marshlands and Hallsville. They don't mean anything in particular, they're just people's properties. But you can see in the same street that somebody's paying $178 difference to their neighbour. Where's the equity in that? The uniform annual general charge. I asked for an explanation as to where it is allocated at the LTP, and there was no explanation given, so I guess you just pluck a figure out of the air and say this is the UAGC. It would be nice if you actually allocated that sum to where you think everybody contributes to the same services. It's not rocket science. Council needs to charge the UAGC at $153 and replace this charge next long-term plan with uniform charges to all services. So that includes sewer and land drainage. You are on your own with this rating system that you've got, and you need to address it in the next LTP. This is the 4th time I've raised the same question and no response has been made to justify the surplus of $1.4 million from the Land and Property Information Services budget. Charges for limbs should be reduced to that like adjoining territorial authorities to reduce this surplus. This is my annual hobby, is to sell at Noble Services. I've no idea why you've got it. As council was raised, well, we make a profit out of it. That's not what you're in the business of doing. You're the only council in New Zealand that has this service, and it should be sold. It's not a significant activity, and there are other contracts that are able to do this work. The company should be sold. Council-controlled organisations should be working within the city boundaries, and a request should be made to CCHL to bring the activities within the city boundaries within 5 years. City Care has depots in Auckland, Clutha, Dunedin, Greytown, Masterton, New Plymouth, Palmerston North, Stratford, Tauranga, Timaru, Waikato and Wellington, but they appear not to be undertaking footpath maintenance in the city. There's another contractor or contractors to be awarded the additional footpath maintenance funding proposed. Just on the final one was the other funding that you show in the plan, $278 million. It should be explained slightly more than a couple of lines. $278 million, 20% of your costs are shown basically as a one-liner. Thank you, Mr Mayor and councillors, and I do appreciate the work you do in this lovely city.
Thank you. Sam, you've got a quick question.
Hey, yeah, thank you very much for coming in. It's good to see you again. I just there was just one thing around the CCOs operating just in Christchurch, and I just wondered if you had a view, sort of think back to after the earthquakes, the impact a lot of our companies had in terms of the profit they were giving back to the city, which obviously helps offset rates. Do you see there a risk in everything being just in Christchurch?
It depends on how you run it, I guess. If you run it as a CCO,
I guess what I'm saying is if you're sorry, it's probably just worth, because people will be watching. If you take the asset base we've got, right, which is circa $5 billion of asset, what I'm saying is you're saying everything should be operating within our district. Do you think there's a risk in terms of having everything operate in the district, and that you have natural events, whether it's the Alpine Fault or whatever it may be, that actually stop them operating? Whereas if you've got some in Auckland or in Wellington or New Plymouth or something like that, actually you're mitigating that risk?
we'll not have them at all.
Right, okay.
There's companies out there that do that work.
Right, okay.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for coming in.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask if staff can talk with you about your rates and how much you're paying, because you said you're paying about $2,000 more than you should be, and it makes no sense to me that that's the case. So you need to talk to a council staff member.
Sorry, I didn't say that.
You said in your submission you're paying $6,000 a year for rates.
No.
That's what I read. Is that this previous person? Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I have been a good boy. Thank you. You said that we should sell Enable. Could you explain why? Because you never gave an explanation.
He did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Which
You're
was?
the only council in New Zealand that has that activity.
So that's the only reason? It's just because we're the only council in New
Well,
Zealand?
you keep getting involved in activities that you shouldn't be involved in. You're a local authority.
That's what I want to... Thank you.
Okay, good on you. Cheers. Thank you very much. Right, we now have Phil King online. G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, we're very well, thank you.
The floor is yours.
I appreciate it. Mayor, councillors, thank you for the opportunity. Apologies in advance if this is out of context. It's the first time I've attended one of these, but I do thank you for the opportunity. The reason I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to you was